Back here at Big 12 Football Media Days at the Star in Frisco, we are joined now by Iowa State head football coach Matt Campbell. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to see you.
Man, the way you develop players year in and year out at Iowa State, it's remarkable. How do you do it?
You just have to have great people. And, I think that's been the greatest blessing that we've had at Iowa State is we've been able to win with great people. And, from the people that serve our players in our football building to the coaching staff to honestly the players that have left our program, and they've not just been great players, but they've been great leaders, and they've had the ability to make sure they left it better than they found it. And when you do that, you can kind of start to create a rhythm about, development, and we've been really blessed to have so many of those great people that have worked really hard to help the development really occur in our building.
Did you play with Nick Sirianni?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, played together, roomed together a lot, we're around together a lot, coached together a lot. So
it's so wild.
It's wild.
I don't know if you heard, he just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know, and we still chuckle about that. So there's times that we're in spring ball and he's calling and I'm like, and he's mad that he's like, hey, do you know I just won a Super Bowl? And so and if you know Nick, he would actually say that. So, but yeah, we're super proud of Nick. Yeah, Nick's awesome human. Really proud of him. Certainly proud of him.
I mean, how much do you guys teach each other, or learn from each other about coaching?
Isn't there like 4 or 5 coaches that were on that team? Guys that are now coaching?
Yeah, Jason Candle at Toledo.
Yeah.
Vince Karras, who's the defensive coordinator at Toledo. Matt Capone, who was with us. He's back with us right now, was the defensive coordinator in North Texas. And then obviously you have Nick right now and certainly what he's doing. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate, and we do. We talk a lot. Nick and I was there for a week last year in May during OTAs with him, and just kind of watching and observing, and got some great feedback, and it was really great for me. And honestly, you left there a year ago, and I guess I probably assumed that all teams looked that good in the National Football League, and when I left, I just said, hey man, you got a really good team, don't screw this thing up. And so he did a great job, and Nick's a great leader of men and great leader of people, so we're really proud of him.
Man, your quarterback Rocco Becht is phenomenal, had a huge year last year. 3-star recruit out of high school. Like, what did you see, and when did you first get connected with him when he was in high school, and did you ever think he'd be the player that he is today?
Yeah, I remember vividly, it was COVID, and, there's about 4 quarterbacks that we watched in our team room, and, we kind of didn't know where we were going to go in recruiting, and, we had watched Rocco. I had probably watched Rocco the week before, so he wasn't in that group before, and I went in and I said, hey, throw this guy on. And, we then went back and watched Brock's junior year in high school. And when we were able to compare those, I said, this is the guy we need to go recruit.
That's fascinating.
And, it really helped us make the decision on going after Rocco. I think the phone conversation that I was able to have with Rocco and knowing what he stood for after that made it really easy to know that he was the right fit for us. Obviously comes from, great lineage with his dad, and mom was a great athlete in college. And, one of the things that I really appreciate about Rocco is who he is even far greater than what he is as the football player. And, I think that's one of the great lessons that I've learned is, boy, the quarterback better be so on par with who you are as the head football coach. And, I didn't know, I just knew we were getting a great human being that stood for what was right, and to watch his early part of his growth journey and watch how he just went about his business, how he carried himself, and really how he became the starter was uber impressive. And, I think now you got a guy that every single person in our locker room would fight for, and you really appreciate that, and you're really grateful for that.
I saw a great quote from you in spring ball where you were talking about the toughness of your team.
Mm-hmm.
You said, are we mentally tough enough and physically tough enough for what's coming at us, especially what's coming at us early, tough early slate. You're talking about a storm as strong as you can get that's going to address this football team the first 4 games of the season. So, from spring to now, how much growth have you seen in that way, and what do you need to see, I guess, in terms of the mental, physical toughness to get ready for a really tough early slate?
Well, I think when you look at what's coming at us 2 ways. Number 1, you had a good season, so you're getting everybody's best shot. And then number 2, man, you're set up for. I think you look at the history of this week 0 game. nobody's really handled it well. I don't
Right.
care if you won or lost the game, nobody's really handled it. And so the challenge not only of the game, but then what comes after that game, how are we going to handle that? And so I think we've tried to do this deep dive as a program to have a great plan. And where were the failures? Where were the pitfalls? And then how do we prepare ourselves for it? So I think there's a mental toughness of, man, are we tough enough to grow greatness in our program? Nobody's ever done that. That's never happened in Iowa State's history, to be able to have a great year and then to come back and have an even better year. And then number two, and that's going to take a personal accountability. And number two, man, what's coming your way with this schedule and the challenges ahead? This is going to be as demanding of a year and a schedule as we'll have ever played in the history of the school. Man, are we physically prepared to do that at a really tough way? So how do you know? You kick the ball off in Ireland and you see if you're ready to rock and roll, right? I mean, I think coaches this time of year, I always love it. Everybody's got the answers.
Right.
But the reality of it is you're going to find out here in the next couple months, are we tough enough and are we physically and mentally tough enough to handle what's coming our way?
Yeah, Coach, get us into your head when you first get that first phone call, first email that, hey, we want to play a conference game against a really good opponent, Kansas State, week 0. Oh, and by the way, we're going to play it over in Ireland. I mean, what did you first think when this first all came about?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Initially, it didn't start as a conference game, with our discussions. Initially that discussion started as potentially a non-conference game. And, I think it quickly went from, and at that point you're like, geez, this might be a good idea. It'd be great for our student athletes, be great. And then, it quickly evolved from that to, obviously not only a conference game, but a really special game, a game that means the world to both universities. It's a great rivalry. There's great respect for myself with Coach Kleiman and that program. And, the reality of it is it's going to be a really special event. I mean, if you're an alumnus of either of those schools, man, if you played at either of those schools, you know that when Iowa State and Kansas State line up to play, it's usually going to be a really special football game. And to do it in an iconic setting, to do it in week 0, it's going to be really special. And so I think there's a little bit of sense of honor that you get to be a part of this, because I think it's got a chance to be really special.
167 catches walking out the door to the NFL. Are we going to see more 2 tight ends coming? Some of that, what we've seen before at Iowa State. Right. Will the offense change with the losses that you have?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to full-fledged change. I think you still saw a lot of 2 tight ends last year, and sometimes 3.
Yeah.
I just think, again, who's going to be ready to step up in some of those critical moments? I mean, what Nolan Higgins did a year ago wasn't so much just the catches, it's when those catches came and winning the moment in such a special way. And now, do we have guys that are ready to do that? I think one of the positives for us is you get a kid that we felt like was one of the best tight ends in the country last year, in Ben Bramer, that we didn't have. He's back. I think he brings great value. I think when we lost Ben, you saw Gabe Burkle step up in a major way, and how that kid played the last 4 to 5 games of the season. So, you're not just asking this receiver room to be the only people that are going to step up and catch the ball. But I also think you went out and from a recruiting standpoint, you've got some guys that played last year. Dom Overby is a true freshman, played really good football for us and had some great success. Daniel Jackson's a veteran receiver in our program that's had great success, that got hurt last year, that he's back. And then you add, Xavier Townsend, you add Chase Soul, you add some guys that have had great production and have already probably done a great job from our end of it. Brett Eskelson's a freshman that man, had 5 catches in the Cincinnati game and probably was the difference maker for us at one. So you got some guys that are ready to step into bigger roles. So we're excited to see what that looks like in fall camp.
Speaking of injuries, linebacker, holy moly. Have you ever experienced anything like that? And 2-parter, your rush defense really took a nosedive at the end of the year. Was that because of how thin you were at linebacker?
Well, I don't think it helped. I think the reality for us, one of the things from our standpoint defensively, especially when you still play 3 linebackers and to have the multiple injuries that we had, that was tough for us. But, we were really proud of how our kids responded, the young men that got in. I think what it gave us was this huge boost going into the spring, because now we're healthy at that position, and you got a lot of guys that have played a lot of really good football. They're back, they're ready to play, and the competition I think is really high in that room. So the injuries were unique last year, probably one of the toughest challenges I've had since being the head coach at Iowa State, with the amount of injuries across the board, and certainly that linebacker room took some tough hits.
All right, Coach, let's get to know Matt Campbell. If you could add any non-football celebrity to your staff, who are you hiring?
Man, this McConaughey's got it going on with Texas right now, right? Like, is that what we're at? Is that what we're looking for? Can I get him as like the leader of culture within the program?
We need an Iowa State McConaughey, though.
We do.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We gotta find one of those guys. But man, at least McConaughey's not like really Texas. You know what I mean? He just kind of evolved into Texas.
Yeah,
so.
totally. Kind of started showing up on the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe we can get him to show up in Ames, Iowa a little bit. So you guys can work on that for me.
There we go.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you.
All right, guys. Appreciate you a ton. Thanks for having me.